One second. And we are live. Hello and welcome to all the men and women of the West. I'm Joe, the host, I guess, because I don't see Dave or anyone else around here right now. I'm joined by the wonderful Michael. I forgot your surname. Darn it.
I didn't never
I'll just
gave
go.
a surname, but Michael's fine.
Okay, the author. Okay. Well, Michael's been patient enough to listen to my jabbering behind the in the back room of the studio. So, Michael, why don't you introduce your Substack to everyone, since that's the main platform I know you from.
All right, yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us, and again, thank you for having me on. My name is Michael. You can find me on Persin Books on Substack, or you could also find my you can also find my publication called Thunderous Fantasies. That is thunderousfantasies.substack.com. That's where I post all my creative works on there. I write mostly fantasy, sometimes
Yay!
sci-fi, as well as like commentary on pop culture and other various articles. But yeah, that's thunderousfantasies.substack.com. Go ahead and subscribe on there. And yeah,
I can see you're no novice at this.
I've done some live streaming, shilling my work, even though I don't get much of an audience. But
Yeah, that makes two of us.
There you go.
Uh, YouTube can be a bit of a nightmare. I probably shouldn't say that on a YouTube streaming channel, but it's a nightmare.
Hey, someone has to say it.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you, why fantasy? What drew you into what is admittedly the greatest genre in human history? But what drew you in?
Well, I feel like fantasy has been my strongest point in terms of like all forms of genre writing. I blame primarily my experience with video games, especially. I used to play EverQuest 2 back in the day for like 4 or 5 years straight, and that really influenced my creativity. But with other forms of video games I've been addicted to as a kid, I've also been heavily involved in sci-fi, especially. Especially when it comes to like weapons, that's been my primary fascination. But I get like all these crazy ideas about a whole bunch of different fictional worlds that I just write up and draft. It's my mind is very malleable when it comes to whatever genre that I like to delve in, and sometimes it's a mood-based thing. With fantasy in itself, I felt like it was the first, technically second genre of writing that I could get my feet wet in. I wrote the first publication I wrote was a comic book. I could talk about that a little bit later, but the one that I've completed, the novel that I completed, Asterisk, it is a fantasy novel that I plan on publishing on my Substack once I reach about 1,000 subscribers. So yeah, we could go into that a little bit more. But yeah, that's a fantasy to me. I mean, the whole like the fascination when it comes to writing is just being able to create your own worlds and create your own, different scenarios and characters, and just being able to create problems for them and then find unique ways for them to solve them that you could ultimately relate to your readers in as well as express yourself in ways you otherwise couldn't, especially in like just simply talking to one person to another. I mean, it's a very therapeutic form of of expression, just to be able to write, which is mainly why it was one of the main reasons why I decided to pursue this path of writing.
All right. So, um, what is your favorite fantasy book and movie?
Honestly, to be honest, growing up, I never really was a reader. I actually hated reading for the most part when growing
Oh,
up.
really?
Yeah, it was. I think it was just because there was like all the books that the schools required us to read. I either got bored or
Or
got
trash?
stupidly well. Well, you trash to
Mhm.
at least to me. It was like a lot of characters in like a lot of these books, like The Great Gatsby, for example. I got so mad because of the stupid decisions the characters made.
I get
And then
that.
there was like for Fahrenheit 451 that just like I get the premise, but but the writing of it was so dated. I just couldn't follow along with it. I mean, there were some good books that I really enjoyed. Hatchet was, I think, it's still my favorite, even though it's a lower reading level. But it was still a very fascinating book for me to even memorize to this day. Um, there were some war stories. There was like a book compilation of like war stories. I forgot what the title of it was, but it had like a bunch of different war stories from World War II. Um, it was a little bit difficult for me to kind of read, but I was so fascinated that I just like went through it and then realized it was just because I thought it was going to be in a chronological order of events with the same cast, but it wasn't. So, and that's kind of what tripped me up. But in terms of fantasy, though, I am a huge fan of the Warhammer 40k Black Library books, as well as the Warhammer books, or sorry, as the World of Warcraft books. Warhammer 40k and World of Warcraft. Um, I mean, I guess that's also to do with me being a gamer, but
Hey, no
I did
shame.
thoroughly enjoy those. I didn't finish all of them. There's still so much to go through, but
I'll be honest.
I,
I'm not. Oh, sorry. Just to interject, I'm not really. I don't understand 40k. Not going to trash talk it. I just don't understand it. And as for Warcraft, I like the classic Warcraft era to Warcraft 3.
oh yeah,
Thoughts on that?
yeah, it's like the original writings up until like the Lich Wrath of the Lich King, like
Oh,
after, yeah, Wrath of the Lich King was so peak. But
yeah, I agree.
I think that story is still my favorite among the World of Warcraft novels. Um,
Okay.
for
But
Warhammer or for the 40k, I read through Eisenhorn, and there was a novel on
mhm.
Magnus the Red that I read that I listened to on audiobook. Um, let's see, and then in terms of movies and film, I think I think Avatar, I think would be my favorite. Um, what was it? James Cameron's Avatar, or I forgot the director's name,
That's
but
science fiction.
yeah, that's science fiction. There's the Dungeons and Dragons film that I did watch. I felt like that was severely underrated, though. Like, I felt
Mm,
like that should have gotten a lot more attention.
okay. Uh, I, I'm not gonna lie. I'm more old school with my interests. Like what I mean by that is like much older fantasy, much older movies and whatnot. So I, but I guess Warhammer is like from what I understand, it's not a young genre. It's like what since the 80s.
Yeah, it started in the '80s originally.
Oh well, um, um, it's a little too rich for my blood. Just in that, I know it's got this complex mythos and whatnot, and well, must require a lot of memory just to remember all the details and whatnot, because it's a vast universe.
Oh yeah, it's basically Dark Ages, but in the grim dark future of space.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty cool description there. A very good description, I think. Okay, so how about your favorite fantasy character of all times?
Fantasy character. Ooh. Um, that's tough. It's always hard to pick favorites of like anything for me. But I do love Arthas. I do love his character and like the complexity and the
Oh
story of the
yeah.
corruption that he goes through with the rune blade. Um, I I think that was one of the best written characters in recent, more relatively recent fantasy. Um, oh god, it's hard for me to think of like other characters on the spot. To be honest, I wasn't really prepared coming into this. I mean, I could have like written a list of things if I had these questions beforehand, and I
Sorry.
probably would have gotten you. But yeah, no, it's good. It's good. Um, I think for the sake of brevity, and I'm just going to go with Arthas for now. There's a million characters that probably would be in my mind if my mind wasn't so fried right now.
Oh, it happens. It's been a long day.
Oh, it's
Um,
been a long couple months for me. Oh shit.
I get that. So far, 2024 and 2025 have been rough. Um, but anyways, so as for um, the mainstream, what is it that they don't seem to understand about the genre? You think? Um, because it seems like they can't get anything quite right with fantasy.
I feel like there's a lot of factors that play into like I mean, this kind of like what my article, like a good chunk of my articles on Thunder's Fantasies is about, like
Hmm.
how corroded the entire fantasy genre has gotten, as well as like other forms of media too. Like, I feel like in recent history, like at least over the last decade, there's just been this effort to diminish the quality of storytelling in general across all platforms. And I don't have proof of this. This is just kind of what I've been ruminating on about since I've been more politically involved. And it's this idea that this is by design to in a more or less in a way more or less to devalue like the different companies that produce this stuff in order to be bought out by like say the Chinese Communist Party to consolidate the media into some conglomerate. I mean, that's just a theory that I've been thinking about. But it's just been this weird cultural battle that I think we can all agree on that's been happening. And like in the Dungeon and Dragon sphere, you've had this strange shift ever since Critical Role, when they made D&D a lot more popular with their voice actors playing on a sort of a podcast or live on Twitch, and this popularity that arose from it resulted in Wizards of the Coast wanting to forge a new path with their franchise to adhere to this quote unquote modern audience. But what they fail to understand, and what a lot of these like fiction writers fail to understand, is that when you try to adhere to a whole new audience, you often end up alienating the audience that made your franchises great. And so that's what's been happening. And the problem, and also the other caveat, is that the modern audience that they're trying to appeal to isn't even buying their own stuff. it just ends up being a lose-lose situation. However, these executives who make these decisions in these like creative realms, they are too stubborn to want to correct course. And I think part of that is through potentially different government subsidies that offset the losses that they get. There was this whole thing with DEI, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion. There's been like financial incentives to involve that in a lot of these like bigger companies, and so when these big companies start pushing on these ideologies, then that starts reflecting. Then other smaller creators start to kind of get that same sort of idea, and then it's kind of starts forcing this new cultural shift, which ends up, creating a lot of garbage and crap in the fantasy in the fantasy space. So it's absolutely appalling how the state of our like all of our creative media has been because of this, and it seems like, and hopefully we're reversing course on that. But I mean, it takes us to get involved, us as writers and creators, as well as readers, to stop, like, vote with your wallet and stop buying the crap that's been peddled to you, and support other smaller creators like us.
All right. Well, what would you say who would you say is your favorite fantasy author of all times?
Oh, jeez. Can I count manga? Can I count a manga author?
Sure.
If I can, I'd say Ichiro Oda, the author of One Piece. I'd say it's like, if people should need to take a lot more inspiration from how he develops his world, as well as his characters and all these tragic backstories that he makes for them. It's really inspiring, like the level of passion, and even the level of passion he has for his own work. He's so passionate about his own work that he even sacrifices his health, which I don't think anyone should do. Like, I think you should take care of your health, obviously, but he has such a strong vision for this world of One Piece that he's willing to go out of his way to sacrifice sleep and health just to make it perfect. And I think his work ethic is excessive, sure, but it is something to admire.
Okay, so what can I ask? Drew, you detect outside of curiosity?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? You were cutting in and out.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's storming out here, and that's nothing to begin with, and yeah.
Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? I think we lost him. Yeah, nice timing with thunderstorms, I swear. Thankfully, I'm not getting that here. Let me see if I can. Oh, I can hear you typing now.
All right. I've just sent you 3 questions.
Oh,
Sorry
okay.
about that. I'm cutting out in and out because of the rain.
All right. So, what drew me to Substack? I was looking for a new solution to help supplement my income because a lot has happened over the last year, and I won't go into the details of it. But because of this whole crap of an economy that we have, I just haven't been able to find work since I've been let go from my previous role back in 2022. So it's been 3 years and I still can't find work, even though I have 8 years of IT experience. So, yeah. But with Substack, I found Ian Katanch, who created his writing course on School. And I started with that sort of community before he decided to kind of like stop it, which I think kind of sucks, but whatever. That's how I found out about Substack. Like I kind of knew about it beforehand, but I never really cared about it until after I decided to try to go harder into this writing career. So thanks, Ian, if you're listening. How long have I been writing fantasy for? It's been on and off since I was in middle school, I'd say. I mean, I've been writing a whole lot of different things growing up, but in writing in general, I just been so embarrassing to say. I originally wrote fan fiction I wrote it for Teen Titans because I was a huge Teen Titans fan growing up, and people liked it, and so I'm like, okay, cool, and so it kind of inspired me to kind of create my own, fictional works going forward, and just over the decades, I've gotten lots of different ideas for stories that just kept getting stuck in my head. Like I have this whole sci-fi fantasy universe that I had in my mind since I was in high school. That's just been developing in my mind for all this time. Then there's then there's a whole bunch of like different stories for comics, and then stories for fantasies. I got like this whole I have like all these different fantasy tales that I want to tell. Like there's the one like Mage Hunter, which is the novel that I'll be releasing on Substack once I find my audience. Then there's like another fantasy story that I have in mind about some World War II vet who gets isekai'd into this fantasy world and becomes a king. But there's just a bunch of other ideas that I have too. Yeah, and I've also did like a lot of fantasy writing for like different types of like role playing games too that I've was the dungeon master for. Like I created like a bunch of different narrative driven story for all these role playing games that I hosted. So, but yeah, it's been a long, arduous, and fascinating. But I'm just happy to have all these ideas that hopefully one day people will find out and read about. So yeah, as for your third question, what is it you love about fantasy as a genre? I love the limitations that it has because it like helps you find new creative ways to express what really is fantasy. Like recently, I published an article about the awesome arsenal of the game Amid Evil, which was it's a first-person shooter, but in this sort of weird, really cool fantasy universe, and how it takes what like the types of weapons you'd find in Doom and how you translate that into like a fantasy genre. I feel like a lot of writers can benefit from limitations, because if you don't if you try to stay within the scope of what fantasy is, then you find new ways to express what magic can be, and what kind of different races, how the different ways they can interact, and how and the different types of storytelling you can weave inside fantasy. And because it's been a genre that's been so done millions of times, people are still finding new and unique ways to tell a fantasy tale, and I find that to be the most fascinating part about it.
All right. Uh, which character that you've written yourself is your favorite so far, or
and everything I've written.
yeah, or you plan to write?
Oh, God. Oh, jeez. I think my favorite. Oh, man. There's two I'm debating between, and they're both in the same universe. But I think my favorite, her name is Uriel, and she is basically this dragon humanoid, like a dragonborn from D&D. She's in my Spirit of War universe, which is sci-fi fantasy. And her basic backstory is that she was an adopted child of two human parents who were killed by the state because the empire is very communist and racist. And she unlocks these warlock powers as a result of her anguish and rage, and just completely kills the two officers that killed her parents. And then she goes on this journey to find out how to resurrect her parents, even though she's only 8 years old at the time. And she fails, but then discovers but it creates this whole mystical shadowy creature as a result of her failed ritual, who just ups and leaves, and she goes on this epic quest to find this powerful shadowy essence, which is basically a part of her soul. But she ends up being the leader of a new resistance movement against this totalitarian regime in the meantime, and she becomes pretty much like an anti-hero in how she conducts this sort of rebellion. So it's yeah, it would make the reader cheer for her, but at the same time, oh, she's also kind of mirroring the same tyrannical sort of mindset that the forces that she's fighting is. So I've also had this perfect idea of a voice that she would have, kind of if you've played StarCraft 2, it kind of be the voice of the Hive Queen from the second expansion from that. But yeah, I'd say Uriel's my favorite of the characters I've written.
All right. Now we get to everyone's favorite time of the show, where I mute myself, give you the floor, and you get to go wild, telling me and everyone all about how wonderful, perfect, and incomparable your world is.
Oh man.
For as long as possible.
Well, I don't know which world I should be talking about, but I guess I should talk about the world that of the novel that I'll be actually releasing.
Yeah, you can do that, and then work on, and then you could talk about the others if you want.
Yeah, sure.
Run wild.
Yeah, so the story of Mage Hunter. So there's basically this big empire called the Celestine Kingdom, and it's gotten a little bit over. It's gotten to the point where they've overextended their borders, and there's the politics aside of it, the story revolves around a half human, a half elf, half orc. Excuse me, half elf, half orc. If I could say that five times fast. He's a mage hunter, and his name's Tycon, and he has like the perfect opportunity to become this mage hunter as a half orc who has like all this like strength and adrenaline that he could use at a moment's notice, as well as like the magical prowess of an elf. So it kind of like creates this sort of cool hybrid of a man. But he's one of the co-founders of the Mage Hunter Guild for the Celestian Kingdom, which is a state-sanctioned guild who was established to hunt down belligerent wizards, those who commit crimes using magic. Kind of think of like the almost like the Grey Knights in Warhammer 40k, if you guys know what that is, what they are, but not as extreme. But the whole premise around this Mage Hunter universe is that magic is relatively new, and it has been growing being a growing problem and a pain point for the kingdom in terms of enforcement. So it's like as the magic develops and as more people gain what they call the gift, is that there's a lot more opportunity for people to not just commit crimes, but rebel against authority in a lot of ways. And so the Mage Hunters Guild is a way to kind of mitigate against that. You've had, like, on Thunderous Fantasies, I've written a bunch of like crime-themed detective-style short stories involving Tycon, as well as the other Mage Hunters, like his co-founder Rion. And then they investigate a whole bunch of these crazy crimes. A lot of the times they involve the Thieves Guild, who either are trying to peddle these magical arcane drugs into the city, or they're trying to create a counterfeit coin operation using magic, or they're just trying to like bribe politicians and officials, or blackmail them, or threaten them in a lot of like dubious ways. What I love about this world is the way I put my take on magic, because in a lot of fantasy worlds, like, magic has just been a staple. Either whether or not it's been rare or whether it's been more commonplace. But with Mage Hunter, I try to like make it like a new thing, almost like a new revolutionary thing that has a lot of people like on a lot of different sides of like debate inside this universe, because of how new and all the crazy potential it has. You got people who are fearful and more or less bigoted towards these mages, and you got people who are very sympathetic and excited for this new, for all these new mages that keep popping up. But it becomes a big point with Tycon as he kind of grows throughout this novel, about what it is that he ultimately wants to do with his life, because he like throughout his journey, it's like he felt like he's been compelled into this journey, when he's just kind of been more or less floating on the river of fate, as opposed to trying to forge his own path. And it was just kind of, this is kind of like one of the many themes that this novel offers, about like life choices and growing up, and and just trying to, and have like the idea of the midlife crisis for someone who's been so deeply involved in this career that he honestly he doesn't know whether or not he wants to continue, even though he's really good at it. And then you got like these themes that are kind of identical to like, well, have a lot of like tie-ins to what we have in the real world, like the whole gun debate thing, and I like how I try to like tie that in when it comes to magic. You know, it's like it reminded me of like it reminds me of this like one meme I found about about wands versus staves with what wizards can use. It's like you don't need all staff for self defense, but yeah, you know it's. And I say it's done. I got a third draft of it completed, but when I hit 200 subscribers on Substack, across my private, across my main page as well as Thunder's Fantasies, I'm going to open up my novel for some beta readers, and that'll be at 200 subscribers across them both. So, yeah, if you're interested, go ahead and follow me. That's Persin Books on Substack, or go to my publication page on Thunder's Fantasies Substack, or yeah, thundersfantasies.substack.com. And yeah, and then also another thing about Tycons is that he is the pioneer of counter magic in his world, and which is more or less like makes it more prevalent as to why he became the co-founder of the Mage Hunters, because he's like one of the few who's been able to actually master this sort of technique when it comes to the arcane arts. And another thing I'd like to share why my story is cool is because man, the nice sound conceited saying that, but Tycon has a wealth of experience. You know, I mean, a lot of fantasies. You got like these, especially in like with manga and the like. You usually get like young adventurers who go on this hero's journey that grows in power and whatnot. Like Tycon, he's got the experience and he's got some power, even though he's not like the most overpowered person in the world, at least. But he has all this experience from his martial training when he first went through his journey to become a guardsman, to his arcane college training when he finally started to learn magic, as well as even becoming a teacher for a period of time to help others learn the arcane arts in the form of counter magic. So he's got a lot of experience under his belt, and I feel like it'll be very relatable to a little bit more of a matured audience who's kind of been more or less going through the waves of life and trying to find their way in life, and I feel like we need more stories like that, and I want to provide for that sort of audience when it comes to the Mage Hunter, but also still leaves a lot of value for even the younger generations too. So yeah, I got a whole bunch of other shorts. I got a whole bunch of other stories. I could probably go on for hours and hours and hours about like every single one of them. But I think it would be more valuable to save those for another time. So yeah, I think that concludes my sort of rambling. So there you have it.
Sorry about that. I had to actually search for my, from the unmute button for a minute. It shows how tech dumb I am. I'm not an IT guy like you. All right. This might be one of the shorter podcasts we've had. Somehow. So I will now ask you the final. Wow, let me think. Yeah, the final. Well, actually, I'll also ask you. Now that I think about it, um, what sort of fantasy is your favorite? Like sword and
Like
sorcery, heroic, or
I I mean, I like sci-fi fantasy a lot, like the mixture of like fantasy elements with like modern technology. Um,
like
also,
Star
like,
Wars?
yeah, kind of like Star Wars. I find that like with my Spirit of War, like my Spirit of War
Mhm.
world, that's kind of what it is. Mix of like sci-fi and fantasy elements. Like I always found like the like even before I kind of knew about Final Fantasy, like that's kind of like where my mind sort of went when I first came up with this like
Final
this
Fantasy is
vast
pretty cool.
universe. Yeah, but I didn't really know about like I may have heard about it like in high school, but I never really played it. I grew up as a Nintendo kid, not a PlayStation.
Same.
Um, but yeah, like I had this idea of like, what if we had guns in a fantasy world or something silly like that, and that's kind of like how this whole idea of the Spirit of War started forming over the years. Um, I think that's my favorite like genre of fantasy. Um, I do like also like some underrated forms of fantasy like steampunk. I feel like that's
Mm.
a heavily
It's
underrated,
pretty underrated.
underutilized. Yeah.
The
Like
best one's
steampunk.
FF6.
What was it?
The best one in all steampunk history.
You cut out right as you were about to say it.
Oh, Final Fantasy VI is what I
Final
meant.
Fantasy VI. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This weather is terrible.
No,
It's
you're
starting
good.
to affect the garden um, negatively. I mean, um,
Ugh.
but yeah, FF6 number one. Okay, uh, you know what? I have to ask. What is your favorite JRPG of all times?
JRPG. I never really grew up with a lot of JRPGs. I've there was one called Lost Odyssey I played quite a bit until I got stuck on like a level grind, which
Hmm.
annoyed the crap out of me. Um, I don't know if you ever heard of Lost Odyssey, but that was a Xbox 360
No.
game. But
Okay.
that was really the only JRPG I really played. But unless you could count Super Mario RPG, but
Oh, that one counts. That one was really good.
so then if you count that, that'll be my favorite then.
So, what's your favorite video game, like of all times?
My favorite video game, I'd say, damn.
I gotcha.
Let's see. I have to say Half Life because it has it has put a strong foothold in my childhood, and that includes like the different Half Life mods that came with it, like Team Fortress Classic and Counter Strike 1.6. So yeah, it's definitely Half Life.
Okay. Um, so now I'm going to ask you, um, what are your favorite Substacks, like
Substacks.
writers and whatnot? Are like if you've read anyone who's writing fiction or what have you, like
Well, there's you guys, the brothers Crin. I really like
Really?
your works that you've done, especially with the with
I'm
those
surprised.
trolls. I really like the troll stories that you guys did. Um,
The troll story, like the
what
history of
was
Golgaroth.
Yeah, Golgaroth. Yeah, I couldn't remember her name, but
Oh, that was the orc story.
the orc story. Sorry,
Yeah, it's
excuse
okay.
me. But
No, it's okay.
Golgaroth. There's the Black Knight. I loved his. I love all the interactive stories that he's done with.
Oh, Black
Um,
Knight's brilliant.
yeah, I love the interactive stories they did with. Um, God, why can't my mind work today? Jeez.
Mine's
The
not been working great either.
Province of Terrans. Yeah. Yeah, those are two of my favorite Substacks so far. Um, um,
Okay. Well, um, I'll just quickly recommend a few of my own. I'd say, I think if you liked Golgaroth, you might like Man Behind the Screen, uh, and Black Sun Archive. And Terajuden is pretty good if you like more like if you like Miyazaki and Studio Ghibli stuff. But if it's sci-fi you like, I don't know, so you'd have to check in with Andrew Smith. You might be able to market a lot of your stuff through the Sci Friday event as well, just
right.
like with Warrior Wednesday, which will be coming up tomorrow. Just to give a tip so that you can help expand your Substack all the faster. If that helps.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
I'm a little
Well,
bit behind on my saved readings because I went through quite. I've been through quite a bit over the last couple of weeks. I just haven't been able to read as much as I
yeah, and
wanted
you're
to lately. So I'm a
dude,
little
you're
bit
busy with
behind.
writing, so
Yeah,
it's
that
fine.
too.
It's fine. Like you read when you can, but when I recommend Andrew Smith, it's for you to tag him when you publish a sci-fi story, so that, or you already have one published and you submit it to him, and he helps promote it, like what I do for fantasy.
Andrew Smith at Goat Fury. Him.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's him.
All right.
Him. Um, oh, and for reading, I'd also recommend Red Oscar. He's quite good at horror and fantasy. Him and I are pretty friendly. But yeah, I'll have to actually, now that I think about it, post up a Golgaroth chapter again soon. I'm currently basically revising this entire story and editing and finishing it.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Oh, another one I'd recommend is Greyburns.
Okay, Greyburns.
I liked his PT Lefantad
Mhm.
series he's been writing. One that's been lesser known by Jeremy Harshman, but yeah, I've been reading through some of those, and I've been fascinated in that series that he has.
All right. My computer is really slow right now. You know what? How's about you send me that Substack, and if you've not been able to find any that I've mentioned, I'll send them to you in return. And because of the weather, I'm gonna cut it a little short. If that's all right.
No, that's fine. Yeah, it makes sense. I get it.
Because I'm cutting out in and out, and the rain doesn't look like it's going to stop. So I'm going to ask everyone to please subscribe to Michael's Substack. The link will be when I post it on Substack in the description down below, and I highly recommend everyone check you out. Oh, right. Eric Marr asks, "How are you?"
Hey, Argmar. Thanks for joining us. I'm doing better, I guess. Hope you're doing well, man.
And he says, "Don't forget Wholesome Punk." I think that's meant to joke around with the steampunk.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Is that on Substack?
What?
Wholesome Punk?
No, I don't think so. I don't think
so. Okay, never mind. Yeah. Okay, I misunderstood.
Yeah. So subscribe to Michael Persin, please. You'd be doing everyone an immense favor. As you saw, he's quite brilliant. He's got a very detailed world. So what more can you want? Especially if you like fantasy and even sci-fi. So bye.